There are times I agree with Alex Jones, and there are times where I think he's either right or he's barking up the right tree. For example, when it comes to 9/11. I don't accept the story that's been packaged for us. It's too neat. It's too convenient. It's almost like it's too perfect. I don't believe it either. And I don't think there's anything wrong, quite frankly, with questioning and demanding real investigations and demanding the truth. What's so wrong about that? So when it comes to issues like that, or the Illuminati or the Bilderbergs, whatever, I support Alex Jones on that. I think he's barking up the wrong tree, even if I don't fully agree with his conclusions or what he feels. In substance, in terms of the fundamental issue, I agree with him. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. David Hume once said, question everything. Thomas Jefferson said, dissension is the greatest form of patriotism. And I agree with both of those statements. What is so wrong about questioning things? What is so wrong with not agreeing with the status quo, with questioning what you've been told and whether or not that's the real truth? We all know the government lies to us. We all know that certain organizations, certain people, make sure that those lies are perpetuated to us through our media, through our communities, what have you, through our politicians. But then there are times where I think Alex Jones does more to damage the credibility of the conspiracy community, if you want to call it that. For him being one of the faces or the front men of the kind of conspiracy community and being the one that questions everything, to be every time that he sits there and he tries to give that community more credibility for some inexplicable reason, for the purposes of self-promotion, selfishness, and outright stupidity, Alex Jones decides that he's going to try and wipe away, undermine, undercut, and destroy any credibility he has tried to build up for himself. And I take a look at Piers Morgan and what's happened with this whole scenario, and I just want Alex Jones to shut the hell up! Now here's the deal. Piers Morgan goes and he's basically espousing his beliefs about the need for stricter gun control. And Alex Jones, being a constitutionalist, and I use quotation marks there for a reason I'll explain why in a minute for this moron, is adamantly opposed to this. Now when it comes to the gun issue in this country, that's not a video I'm going to do at this moment, but no matter what, logic, facts, statistics, reasoning, use of the five senses, empiricism, it's kind of like enlightenment versus romanticism. There's not a whole lot of enlightenment here. It's a lot of playing to the romanticism side of people, fears, emotions, and passions, to elicit the response that you want out of them by playing to those fears, emotions, and passions. And that's clearly what Piers Morgan was doing. And that's clearly what Alex Jones was doing. To sit there and organize a petition to have Piers Morgan deported because of his stance on gun control is fascism in its purest form. It's unconstitutional, you dipshit. Now, for some reason, morons such as Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity and Bill O'Reilly, and in this particular instance, it tends to be conservative, right-wing guys that have perpetuated this. So yes, I'm going to use them as an example. There are other times where Democrats or left-leaning people have been just as evil, so don't give me that shit. But when it comes to this particular issue, it is very pertinent to point out that somehow in this country, it has been perpetuated out there that if somebody is not a United States citizen, that they are not afforded rights that are granted under the United States Constitution. Even though the Constitution explicitly states that if somebody is under United States jurisdiction, these basic civil liberties apply to them. That would be namely the Bill of Rights, and in particular what that means is the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. When it comes to how this country should be run, when it comes to the things that should govern us and guide us, am I going to take an idiot like Alex Jones's word for it, or am I going to take the Founding Fathers' word for it? I'm going to take the Founding Fathers every time. And here's what I mean. Alex Jones is trying to lead a petition, that is to have Piers Morgan deported because he was not a United States citizen, and he was speaking out against the gun laws in this country and advocating for stricter gun control. the right to bear arms is covered under the Second Amendment of the Constitution. Again, that amendment is a topic for another video I'm going to do. But there is the constitutional right to bear arms for the people under its jurisdiction and for its citizens. That's the Second Amendment. You know, as George Washington, I'm kind of paraphrasing here. One of the things he mentioned was one of the most important basic rights that the people have is to bear arms. And one of the best ways to protect against the tyranny of a government is an armed people. And I don't fundamentally disagree with that at all. Again, do I think I know better than George frickin' Washington? No, I don't. And it's about time a bloviating blowhard like Alex Jones stopped acting like he's more intelligent than he is. Because every time he comes across as smart, he does something like this to make himself look like a complete moron and make people like me that happen to want to question things look like idiots for ever being on the side of this ass clown. So he believes that Piers Morgan, since he's not a United States citizen, even though he's working in the country legally and is living here legally, does not have the certain basic fundamental constitutional rights, other than the right to vote, which is something that is specifically for United States citizens. He doesn't believe that those laws apply to him, even though if you clearly read the Constitution, they clearly do. Maybe Alex Jones, every once in a while, when he's trying to protect the Second Amendment, maybe he should actually, actually read the damn Constitution. And if he would bother to read the Constitution, I know he's been against things like the Patriot Act and NDAA, and I'm totally behind him on that. He should be. Because those are violations of our First Amendment rights as residents and citizens in this country. But I ask Alex Jones this. You obviously don't read the Constitution and don't understand it, just like other morons like Limbaugh, Hannity, Beck, Palin, O'Reilly. The rights afforded under the Bill of Rights and the Constitution do not just have to cover United States citizens. It is also the people that are under the jurisdiction of the United States. Indisputable fact here. And if we want to play this game of talking about amendments, for all the people that want to so vehemently defend, and I understand it, vehemently defend the Second Amendment, and vehemently defend their right to bear arms, I want you to keep this in mind. It's the Second Amendment. And it's the Second Amendment for a reason. Because it was not the most basic, fundamental right that our founding fathers thought was important for its government, for the government to ensure its citizens. That was the First Amendment. And henceforth, that's why it's called the First Amendment, Alex Jones, you dipshit. The protection of freedom of speech. Oh, which Piers Morgan would be covered. The protection of freedom of religion, freedom from religion, the prevention of an establishment of a state religion. It's one of the reasons that people emigrated here as colonists to get away from the Church of England. So for all those people that say that this country was founded as a Christian nation, you're wrong. It wasn't. Because that would be the establishment of a state religion, which the First Amendment guarantees freedom from and of religion. But even just as importantly, freedom of press. Alex Jones, when you go on Piers Morgan's show and you make yourself look like a complete jackass, you're being given the freedom of speech and freedom of press, just like when you're doing your InfoWars shit. And you have the fundamental right to have that, damn it. And I'll fight to make sure that you do have that right. Because you are under the jurisdiction of the United States, you're a United States citizen, you deserve that right. It is constitutionally protected. That First Amendment isn't there to protect popular speech, it's there to protect unpopular speech. It is. But it also holds true. Freedom of speech and freedom of press holds true for Piers Morgan as well. And just because he's not a United States citizen, that's inconsequential. And you should know that. And it's shame on you, Alex Jones, you fascist fuck. You are. You want to oppress somebody else's right of free speech because you don't agree with them? What are you, George W. Bush? What's next? Alex Jones, if somebody disagrees with his InfoWars, he's going to set up an entirely different website for people to complain about what he says and give him free speech zones. Are you George W. Bush? Are you Dick frickin' Cheney? Are you Donald Rumsfeld? Do you believe in trashing the First Amendment because somebody says something that doesn't agree with you because you disagree with them? That's shit that Stalin would do. That's shit that the Nazis would do. That's shit that Mussolini and the fascists in Italy did in the 20s and 30s. You stupid idiot. And I don't care if I'm calling you names like that because you deserve it. How dare you try to take away somebody else's constitutional right to freedom of speech? It would be just like me defending you, Alex Jones, if somebody tried to take away your right of freedom of speech. Just like my right of freedom of speech now, jackass. The next time you want to sit there and get on your fucking high horse and cite the Constitution and use fears, emotions, and passions to get people riled up in defense of the Second Amendment, think about two things, you dipshit. Number one, it's the Second Amendment, not the First Amendment. And it's the Second Amendment for a reason. Because our founding fathers thought it was the second most important principle of rights for the citizens to have, but not the first. And never, ever, and I emphasize again, ever, should the Second Amendment ever come before the First Amendment. You could start revolutions. You could win wars. You could get freedom, especially in today's information age, through freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of and from religion, without ever having to fire a damn shot. And for any of you that are going to come on here and just automatically defend Alex Jones, even though you know he's wrong, shame on you. I will call out anybody, and I emphasize again, anybody that attempts to fundamentally take away the constitutional rights afforded to us, A, as U.S. citizens, or B, as legal residents, or even non-legal residents within the jurisdiction of the United States. The Constitution, maybe after the Declaration of Independence, perhaps the greatest document in U.S. history. It's the bedrock of our country. It's what our country was built off of. And I'll be damned if some internet whack job like Alex Jones is going to suppress Piers Morgan's or anybody else's freedom of speech and freedom of press just because he doesn't agree with them. You sounded and came across and looked like a fascist fuck for this, Alex Jones. How dare you? I don't care how you spin it. There is no spin. You are wrong. You should apologize. You were wrong. Piers Morgan's in the right. The White House, for once, was right. Piers Morgan had constitutionally guaranteed rights of freedom of speech and freedom of press, and you made yourself look like a jackass. And part of the reason it pisses me off so much is because there are a lot of people that look up to you, Alex Jones. A lot of people that consider you a form of a hero. You're the representation of them. And you're going to go on national TV and take that form and take that platform to selfishly promote yourself and your stupidity instead of trying to lend credence and credibility to your movement. Instead of talking about the things that you're trying to get done, the questions that you're demanding answers to, you're going to make yourself and the people that follow you look like that? Fuck you, Alex Jones. It's about time you shut the hell up when it comes to this issue in particular.